Welcome to the Heat versus the World podcast. And now, stand up and make some noise for your host, Joel Jacob.
Yes, sir, guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Heat versus the World podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joel Jacob, and with me, I got Nick and Alex. And we're coming off of a great Heat win last night, so we're feeling good. But overall, the same old thing has been going on with the Heat, because we gotta also acknowledge the fact that we just came off a loss right before this win against Cleveland, and it's just been the same old situation for Miami, where you blow a lead and you lose the game, but then you come back next game looking good. So shout outs to the Heat for bouncing back. And overall, one thing I gotta say for this team is I know a lot of people are kind of annoyed, especially last night, because it was looking like a really close game. It seemed like the Hornets was about to pull 2013 Finals Game 6 on us, the way how we kept that game too close. But we won, all right? So a win is a win. It is what it is. I know people don't like, the way how it looked. So from a moral standpoint, they kind of look at this from a loss. But y'all got to know that the Miami Heat, this team is not going to give y'all a clean win, all right? We could play against a bunch of high schoolers, and we're probably going to only beat them by like 4 points. It is what it is with this squad. It doesn't mean that they're not good. It doesn't mean that the team is just overall trash. It just is what it is. This is what we've been witnessing the last few seasons. And I'm not saying that just because of this that we should be completely happy with this team, or that we should just assume that this team is going to do what we saw this team do last year and just flat out go to the finals again, even though that's what I'm going to predict anyways, because screw y'all's opinions. It is what it is, though. Like, y'all just got to accept this team the way how they are. And as long as they can keep up the success, keep up getting wins, I mean, I'm fine with it. So I'm gonna pass the mic to you, Nick. Like, how have you felt after these last couple games?
I haven't felt like taking really too much into it. I mean, with Bam out and Tyler out, if you can pick up a win, it doesn't matter if it's against the Hornets or if it's against the Bucks. If you can pick up a win with those guys out, it's huge. I think my favorite thing to do with these games is just kind of watch Jaime more than anything, because I mean, there's some games where Jimmy is going off. I mean, like the Cavs game with Kyle being our leading scorer, I think like 17. You're just looking at these games, especially when your big guys are out, and just looking how your youth develops. So that's the way I've been looking at it. I mean, if we can get a win without Bam and Tyler, I'll take it and run with it. I won't complain if it's a 2-point win against a LaMelo-less Hornets.
Couldn't have said it any better myself, because like you mentioned, whether if it's the Hornets or Bucks, like, it's gonna be the same outcome regardless. And we're not gonna be, hating on these clutch games, when it's playoff time and we're in the exact same scenario against a team like a Milwaukee or a Boston, So better to be prepped up for these situations now. So like down the road you'll be ready for it. And I mean, shout outs to Jaime too, because dude is looking like the third best rookie right now. I want to say he's the first, but people are going to throw Shet and Wemby in there, so I won't. But
he's looking like the best out of the 2023 draft class. You can put Chet above him. He's above Wemby. I don't care.
Because I understand, like, Wemby is an alien, but bro, like, dude was selected. What number was this pick again? It was
18.
18. That's insane to think about. Like, 17 other teams just passed on him. And I won't talk about that bold-headed loser from the other franchise that much, but he had a chance to select him. And I mean, I'm not going to diss the player he went and drafted, because, give him some time, of course. But come on, he was the second pick in the draft, and our guy over here is balling now. I don't care if he was in college for 4 years, bro. Like, he wasn't the one that everyone was calling a generational superstar from the get-go. So that's all I got to say about that. And Alex, how have you been feeling?
Say, man, like you guys are saying, anytime we can take a win, especially with guys out, we'll just take the win however we can get it. beautiful win, ugly win, blowout win, close win. I don't care. A win is a win. It goes in that right. It goes in the column that we wanted to go in.
Exactly. And like I just want to know from you guys specifically, like how do you guys feel about this squad? Like how impressed have you guys have been with this team, being able to still find a way to perform even with the injuries and stuff? Because I just feel like when you look at this team, they're already getting bitten by the injury bug a lot, because you look at the Tyler injury, we still don't know when he's coming back. You then have what's going on with Bam. Hopefully he can be back soon. But at the same time, like I don't want him back in a game until like he's fully recovered, because you need him to be healthy in order for this team to be at its best. But with all of this like being said, how have you guys felt with this squad's performance? Because one thing that we talked about in our last Biscayne breakdown is the idea that this could potentially be the deepest team in the Jimmy Butler era. And I don't know. I feel like it's a fair argument to make. The only team that can maybe hold a candle to it is the bubble Heat. And I know some people might throw the 2022 Heat team because they were the 1 seed that year. But overall, like, what do you guys think from this squad? And do you guys believe that this is the deadliest Heat team that we've had in the Jimmy Butler era? Who wants to go first?
I think if we see everyone fully healthy, I think without a doubt it's the deepest, because you have Duncan playing better than Duncan played in 2020. You have Duncan playing better than Max played the last 2 years.
True.
And then you add the fact Caleb started all year last year, and now Caleb's not going to be able to start when Haywood's healthy. So
Mm-hmm.
you have Caleb coming off the bench, and then, I mean, Jaime's ridiculous. I mean,
Yep.
he's getting a lot inside, but he's shooting jump shots too, and he's still leading the team. I think he's leading the team with like 53% from the field.
Right.
Orlando is starting to flourish, and I think that's good that he's getting these minutes now, because Thomas Bryant had a nice hot start, and then it quickly you could see why LA and the Nuggets gave up on him so quickly. So Orlando's getting these minutes now, and he looks decent. I think the only knock you have on our depth is that Kyle Lowry is the only technical point guard rostered. But after Jay Rich took that rust off, he's been fine the whole year. He's been a good backup guard. So yeah, it's probably I'd say we just haven't seen it all together. I mean, once Tyler, Jimmy, and Haywood get back, you probably do have the deepest, or Tyler, Bam, and Haywood
Yeah.
get back. You probably do have the deepest team in the Jimmy era.
And then that's the thing right there, and I'm gonna ask you guys this question later because I want to hear what everyone's opinions about this are, because it's been something we've talked about in like the last Biscayne breakdown along with the last Heat versus the World pod we did before that. So I will ask this later on, but Alex, I want to know, like, what do you think? Like, do you think this could be the deepest team in the Jimmy era?
Yeah, man. I definitely think that the group that we have now, we have the most wing depth and wing versatility that we've had in the time that Jimmy's been here. That first year Jimmy was here, obviously we ended up making that trade and got my boy Solomon Hill, Jay Crowder, and Andre Iguodala. But and we then the next year we're not even going to talk about Trevor Ariza and his stint. Um, but yeah, then we had the 2022 year where we were the 1 seed. We had like guys playing above their head to help us get to that 1 seed. Last year, obviously, we had basically a miracle year. But I think this year, with like everybody saying like how Jaime has been playing so well, and how Caleb is rounding into form, Jay Rich is figuring it out, and then obviously like with Haywood being out, once he comes back, like we have a whole bunch of different wings that we could throw on the court who honestly all can do almost the same things, but there's such a difference in how they play that we could literally have four wings and a big on the court and not miss a beat. And like Nick said, man, right now the only thing that we're lacking is another true point guard, which I mean, it isn't bad.
Right. And that's the thing for the squad. I mean, if you could go out and like I don't know like what specific names you guys would have in mind. Like I know one everyone mentions is an Alex Caruso, but from the
Dinwiddie.
yeah, that's another good option right there. I know some people mentioned TJ McConnell, especially after he went off that one game
That's a
against.
heat lifer.
I know Jimmy is cool with him, so hey, if you can make it happen, go right ahead. Like there's so many guys out there. Like, is there any point guard specifically that would have y'all's attention if we could get him for a fair price? We can start off with you this time, Alex.
I mean, it's like obviously I would love that Caruso edition, 6'5" defender, um, who can knock down shots. Man, like to be totally honest, other than Caruso, I really don't think so because, I mean, I say like last year or the year before that, I remember everybody on Heat Twitter was talking about looking at John Wall, but in my opinion, to be totally honest, I don't think John Wall is an NBA player anymore. So like that would have been the other name in my opinion, but yeah, I think Caruso, and I honestly I think we got a guy on the roster who probably could play some minutes at the point guard spot, but I mean he's in jail right now. If you see under my name, so I'm trying to get him free. He doing a bid right now because Spo them locked him up.
I mean, hey, I'm all for Point Jovic. So if the Heat want to make that happen, by all means, do it. I mean, I know they're still concerned because I guess he's still a very raw prospect, but dog, I would love to see Point Jovic, man. So I'm kind of upset that we won't get to see it just yet, assuming that he'll eventually get some consistent minutes. But Nick, how about you though? Like any names that come to mind?
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking for guards to target, I mean, the Caruso out of all of them would be the one that made the most sense. But then, depending on the price, Dinwiddie or Brogdon, I don't think we'd be able to make a trade with the
I forgot about
Trailblazers.
them.
But if you can get Brogdon for a price, especially because I haven't watched a single Trailblazers game yet, so I don't even know if Malcolm Brogdon is playing or playing well. But I mean, everyone knows that Brogdon isn't there for the long haul. They're just going to try to bolster his trade value somehow. If you can get him for the right price, Brogdon would not only fit Pat Riley's MO, but he'd be a guard that can score and play defense, and then he's shown that he can play make. And then same thing with Dinwiddie, but it just all comes down to the price you can get him at.
Exactly. And I mean, for me personally, I mean, I don't even know how Portland would even interact with us because I mean, did we even try for Drew Holiday?
I think the leaks were saying we did, and then Pat Riley stiff armed everyone and said no. But I'm sure they did.
Yeah, because like I don't think you can even trust like Pat Riley quote every now and then because it's like he said he didn't even trade Tyler at all, and it's like so I mean shoot, because for me personally, it's like all you just gotta do is bolster that depth, man. Because it's like you don't want to trust Kyle too much, and I'm not saying it because it's like we got to get rid of him, this or that. Because I'm on the board, I'm at the point with Kyle where it's like. I don't want to trade him just to trade him. Like I don't know if you guys feel that same way. But
You only trade Kyle if it's a contract filler and a move that's. I think if it's a contract filler that's going to get you something, you don't trade him just because you're not going to re-sign him because he doesn't have many. He doesn't have a lot of pick value. Exactly. So unless you're bringing in someone in some of the big names, like unless he's a contract filler like a Pascal or an Anunoby or a DeRozan and all these names that we've heard, you don't trade them.
Right. Like just go for the move that simply moves the needle for this team. Don't trade him for like what's the word I'm looking for? Like another bad contract, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you just got off that. You don't want to put it on unless it's right. I just looked. Brogdon is having a pretty good year being, I believe he's probably Portland's. No, I don't know if he's starting or not, but
And
he's
now,
he's averaging 17 points, 6 assists on 41% shooting splits.
I don't know. I really wish I could have seen his highlights because the thing is, I never try to take some of these players' what's it called, stats too seriously when they're playing for like some of these bad teams.
Yeah, but I mean, he's had these stats his whole. I mean, he averaged close to that on a Celtics team and a Bucks team.
True, yeah. It's like because I'm just right now, I just cannot trust this not our front office, but Portland when it comes to the way how they go about things. So it's like I don't know if you could get a guy like Brogdon, that would be good. But man, Joe Cronin, that man just pisses me off so much that I just know he would try to screw over the Heat if he possibly could. I mean, you already tried it with Dame. You already
Yeah,
tried it with Drew, sending him to another
he.
conference finals threat. So
All that matters is he got smoked. And at the first initial day of that trade, when it all happened, and after the Drew trade fell, I was like, oh, he did get a good haul. And now looking at it, you haven't traded Brogdon. Robert Williams got injured. You're not trading Robert Williams anytime soon. And DeAndre Ayton is horrible.
dominating, bro, dominating.
Oh, so yeah.
Like
I hate him so much. He ruined my life.
Nah, I mean, but shout outs to him for seeing the potential in Hyman. So y'all keep we'll go send him to Milwaukee where, Dame's over here having all these chemistry issues with Giannis. Cause I don't know, I was mentioning this on Biscayne Breakdown. I don't know if you saw the clip where like him and Giannis were like looking at each other and they were like, what was it? It's me and you or something like that. And then they mentioned how Dame never really got the ball again. It was during that Pacers in season tournament game. Like it just seems like this team, like not this team, but like there's just so much chemistry issues going on with that squad. Like no matter how much success they have in the regular season this year, I don't see it working out there. Like I don't see them winning a championship. I don't even see them going to the finals. And everyone that gasses up the idea that we're about to see the Bucks and Celtics battle it out in the conference finals. Like I said before, it gives me the same type of vibe that we got from a couple years ago after the Lakers traded for Russ, and people were like, "Oh my gosh, Lakers and Nets in the conference finals. Should we just skip to that because we're just gonna watch this team go out there and both of these teams with their big threes just dominate their conferences and then meet each other for what's going to be a crazy NBA Finals."
Yeah.
We saw what happened.
I mean, I feel like, besides like the Heat and the Warriors, all those super teams that have been trying to be formed in the last decade always fizzle because there's too many egos in one room.
Yeah.
And I don't know, dude. Hasn't the Suns? I don't even think they've all played together in a game yet.
Nah, and like Bradley Beal was supposed to make his return, I think, tonight, and
Now KD's not playing.
Yup. So I don't know what's gonna happen with that. I mean, they got a whole hospital trio over there, and
Yeah.
I don't trust teams where like everyone specific need is like having the ball in their hands. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like
Yeah, that's why Miami worked out so well. Because I mean, yeah, Bosch was like that, but he was able to refine his game, and then
exactly.
Dwayne, and then LeBron. I mean, is obviously he needs the ball in his hand, but he is going to probably go down as the best playmaker of all time.
Right.
And then you look at the Warriors team, and Clay moves off the ball. Draymond doesn't need to touch the basketball unless he's at the free throw line passing it or grabbing a steal, and then KD and Steph could just dominate.
Exactly.
Then you pull. They're trying to force point Booker, and Booker's not a point guard. He'll have a lot of games where he'll pop off and he'll see like 10 to 15 assist nights just because they're forcing it through him, but his usage isn't point. KD's usage isn't point, and Bradley Beal is nowhere near a playmaker.
And you got him talking about he's trying to be a two-way player now. Earlier,
I mean, he was a two. He was when he was John Wall's Robin. He was a good two-way player, and then they just said, "Hey, go have fun. We're the Wizards. We suck." And then he stopped. He was a decent 3-and-D guy back when he was young, but now he's in his 30s. It's not going to be. I'm sure in his head he's like, "Oh, I did it before. I can do it again." But that was 8 seasons ago.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll say this, and like I don't want to reflect too much on stuff that didn't happen, but you know what the Heat were trying to do with Dame, I mean, that would have succeeded a lot more than some of the moves
Oh
that
yeah.
we've seen actually go down, because at least we know he would have actually made sense for the Heat, you know? Like, and that's what the Heat try to go for, the moves that actually put this team in a good position, unless it's like a certain superstar where even if it doesn't fit, like you still put him in there because
Yeah, like
they're that
if
good.
Pascal does become available, the
Exactly.
Heat might not go for it. They're going to kick the tires and look. It might not make sense on paper, but if someone of that talent comes up, you kick the tires and you see
Yeah.
what you can do.
Like, and you look at some of their past history too. Like a couple of off seasons ago, you know, we went after DeMar DeRozan. You know, I think we offered him like the mid-level exception, and you know, obviously he passed on that to go to Chicago.
Got
But
the bag, had fun.
yep. But like even then, you know, that was the guy that they were willing to pursue, you know, at the right price. But even then, even if the spacing didn't look right, they were willing to roll the dice on him for that if he was willing to take that type of money. And you know, even when there was the whole stuff going on back in 2020.
2020.
Yep, there was the whole thing about, you know, would he even stay with Milwaukee? You know, people were gassing up the idea that you could get that big three of Jimmy, Bam, and Giannis, even if it meant that this team was probably only going to score like 80 points a game come the regular season. So, with all that being said, it doesn't really matter when you look at that type of stuff. But the Heat, like, at least they know with certain stars, they need certain type of, you know, requirements in order for them to work with Jimmy and Bam, you know. So I mean, I don't know. And speaking of DeMar, just a quick,
I was about to say that too. I was about to bring that up.
like, would you go after DeMar? Because I ain't gonna lie, I don't know. If he could come off
Ah,
the bench, if he could
it
come off,
depends. It depends what you can get him for, and yeah, what he's willing to do.
because
I guess. I mean, this team is like middle of the ground offense and defense. The only reason we're middle of the ground defense is because our defense hip hurts.
yeah,
And like once his hip's better, they're going to be fine. So I mean, this team does struggle offensively again. Tyler hasn't played for 5 weeks now.
mm-hmm.
But I mean, if you can get him for the right price, it'd be cool if you'd want to come off the bench because our bench unit is, I mean, as good as Jaime's been. It doesn't have a lot of scoring. I mean, if Caleb's on and Jaime, I guess Duncan goes to the bench if Tyler comes back. I don't know. Oh, yeah, maybe. Oh, it's up, K.
What's good, bro?
Oh my.
So, Kay, we was just talking about DeMar DeRozan real quick because we was just talking about like some of the moves that the Heat could go for, and now sometimes Heat might go for guys that might not even have the best spacing for the squad, but yet it won't matter if they could potentially move the needle. And we just quickly touched on DeMar since you know spacing wouldn't be the best with a guy like him. I just want to know, like, would you even consider pursuing a guy like him if he was available and for like a good price for the Heat?
Yeah, only if the price is right, though. I mean, considering everything you guys, I'm sure have mentioned, when it comes, what up, Nick? By the way, didn't mean to cut your blurb off. When it comes to spacing and all of that, because of the inherent issues that, if you're the Miami Heat, you're going to try to paint for the Bulls. You're going to try to lower that price. So if you can get it for a good price, sure. Because here's the thing about DeMar. DeMar is a flat out scorer, but he's also a vet and he's also not little. So when you're thinking about a guy like Spo and players like Jimmy and Kyle and the rest of the guys that are there, they'll certainly know how to help DeMar not only maximize himself, but not mess up the fluidity of this team. Now, if the Bulls are talking anything of merit, anything of supreme value, then you hang up the phone because of everything we're talking about, the potential wonkiness of the fit. You don't give up anything of value. But if they're having a fire sale and they ask for a first, in a couple of years and a second, or, a couple of seconds and some cash cons just, to get them off the books or whatever, then heck yeah, you do it. because the Miami Heat and this team can figure out a way to deploy a guy like DeMar DeRozan. But because of, like I said, the wanky spacing issues and deployment and everything like that, you absolutely don't give up anything of value. But if he's just hanging out there, you can make, the best of several decent offers. Like I said, a first somewhere down the road, or even a couple of seconds, or backloaded, whatever. No, you go after him because it's still talent. He can still help you win.
Exactly. And I just want to know, like, would you prefer him coming off of the bench, or do you think Spo can make a way where he could succeed in that starting lineup?
For me, it's not about who starts, it's about who finishes. DeMar DeRozan will absolutely be one of those 7 to 8 guys that we count on closing games. And I say 7 to 8 because you got to imagine Duncan, Jimmy, Bam, Kyle's going to be somewhere in the mix. I'm glad that E-Reed and Crotty pointed it out last night in Charlotte with about 7-8 minutes go, how people try to poo on Kyle, but Kyle's value to this team isn't necessarily what he's doing on the box score, but what he allows everybody else to do, like fluidity, connectivity, pace. It was essential to get him back into that game last night, to help them continue that pace, even if it didn't amount to production. It set them up to produce. But when you think about, again, like I said, Jimmy, Bam, Kyle Lowry, you got Tyler Hero who's out. You got Duncan Robinson, who you're still going to have to play with those final guys because his shot making and spacing is just so crucial. You got a guy like Hayward Highsmith. You got to include Caleb Martin in that bunch. You can see Jaime in that bunch. And then if you get a guy like DeMar DeRozan, depending on what you have to give up for him, he's definitely going to be in that 8-9 guys that you're closing the game with. I mean, because even if to that point, and we talked about it a little bit on our last appearance, not sure if it was a Heat versus the World or Bitch Game breakdown, but that's the thing about Tyler Hero. It's like you may not have him starting games for you. If, in my perfect world, he wouldn't be the starter, but he would still play 30 to 35 minutes and absolutely be a part of everything that they're doing on a night in and night out basis to close games. So, I mean, back to that point, it's not about who opens, it's about who finishes.
Right. And for me personally, it's like you brought it, like you hit it right on the nose, man. Like for this squad specifically, I mean, when you have an offensive mastermind like Spo, a guy that's capable of pulling the strings in the right direction for this team, I trust him regardless of what his decision is, because I know, like, even if we question certain moves, like come playoff time, he's gonna know exactly what this team needs to do, and it's all gonna make so much sense down the road. And even if it's a guy like DeMar DeRozan, I expect a team like the Heat to make it work. I mean, this was a squad that, as I mentioned earlier, was interested in him at one point. Like if he was willing to take that MLE, he would be in Miami, not in Chicago. And who knows how Spo could have made it work. Obviously they trusted him that much if they were even willing to at least roll the dice and see if he would be interested in coming for that much money. So with that all being said, I just want to know real quick, Kate, because we were talking about it earlier in the show. Is there any point guards that come to mind that you feel like the Heat could go for just to simply improve their depth? Because, like, as Nick mentioned, we're kind of relying a lot on Kyle being that one main point guard that we have, and then like everyone else after that, they're not really your traditional type of PG. So, is there anyone out there that you try to get just to somewhat improve what we have right now in that rotation? You're on mute right now.
My bad. I was ready to go in. Obviously what I was doing prior to logging in is still latched on. But basically, when you think about what the Miami Heat do, and I know people want to poo-poo with that. We don't need a point guard. Everybody. It's like thinking about it, because I was actually thinking about this today and a lot last night. What makes Kyle Lowry good for this team isn't only the fact that without producing points, he still does those things like the scrappy defense, like the sacrificing his body, like the getting guys in order. He's one of the rare guys that could say anything he feels like saying to Jimmy, say anything he feels like saying to Bam, say anything he feels like saying to anybody on the floor, refs and Spo included. And we may not always like it, but sometimes that's exactly what those people need. Is the fact that Kyle Lowry can not only be the guy that initiates and finds people, but he's totally comfortable with, okay, you bring it up the court. And then he runs and he takes his alignment deep in the corner, or he takes his alignment on the wing. and then he proceeds to run whatever spot of the offense that he is. That speaks to something about him and something to the point we talk about with the Miami Heat, where everybody initiates. I don't know if there's another guy out there that's available that not only will come in and play that role, but is capable. And I say that if you go get a guy that's a borderline starter, well, one, what are you giving up for him? Two, what is his role on this team? Thirdly, that's three things, right? Thirdly, I think about a guy like RJ Hampton, who just suited up last night for the first time in Lord knows when. Now, he isn't going to come in and be Kyle, but if he can come in and help take some of that pressure off of him as far as being another outlet to help move the ball or to, just be the out top guy defensively, I'm not so sure if they need to add point guard depth, because when you look at Caleb Martin, when you look at Josh Richardson, when you look at Jaime, Bam's not back. When you look at what Duncan is doing off the pity pat, thinking about Tyler Hero, thinking about Jimmy when he's in his mode, what the hell is a point guard on the floor for? For what? Why? What are we doing? Caleb is creating and initiating. Caleb initiated the offense for the majority of the back end of the second half, opening the third quarter until you got Kyle back in there yesterday. Caleb can create for himself off the dribble. I mean, Jay Rich isn't a point guard, but he's a good trigger man for us. He finds guys every now and again that he can create for himself. He's definitely got capable of putting a little pressure out front. Yeah, you need some more POA defense, and you don't always love what he does, but he gives you an element of tenacity and scrappiness out there on the front. That's what you need, and he's still 6'6" with length. Like I said, Duncan, his pity pat game is grown tremendously, and I don't think that that's something that just happened this year. I preached it last year. I think he's just getting that opportunity. Tyler Hero isn't in, but that's always our whole thing about him. He needs Rock Rain to be his best self. Well, Rock Rain is literally him with the rock. What's a point guard doing while Tyler Hero's being Tyler Hero? Jimmy Butler, same thing. Kyle Lowry is a point guard. Bam Adebayo is arrived. He can do those point guard things, but I would much rather him be beefing your big man in the paint, pause, or shooting that midi. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I mean? Nick, you good over there? It's just like, what's the use? So that's what my thinking is with it, because I really was thinking about it. So again, if there's a guy available, if they have a roster spot on the back end of the season and Goran Dragic got his six-pack tight, bring him in. But to break your back, you know what I mean, or to deal a piece, to go get a point guard, I don't think it's necessary right now. And another thing I'm going to say while I'm on the topic, there was a lot of talk surrounding Caleb Martin, and what can Caleb get you? And, his contract is over at the end of the year. I dare to say these last two games and what he's done, again, a point production standpoint in that first half against Cleveland, and then just all of the auxiliary things he's done in that second half and in this game against Charlotte, their most recent contest on Monday night. Can we quiet that talk a little bit, people? Can we quiet that talk? My theory is when you look at guys that they paid, they're guys that were homegrown, which Caleb sort of is at this point. They were guys that did things that were core and fundamental to what the Miami Heat are. Jay Rich, that scrappiness, that versatility, that multipleness, that size, that ability to man multiple positions on both sides of the ball that I'm talking about, a SPO guy. When you look at Duncan, it's not only the fact that he's knocked down, but it's the fact that whenever he moves, the whole defense moves, which allows everybody else's job to be easy. Like, those things are fundamental. And Caleb does everything on offense. There's nothing he can't do. He might not be a 10 anywhere, but he's an 8 in some places and a 7 in others, and you can't teach that. But he also rebounds well for his size and position. He's a good defender, a team defender anyway, and I like him better as an off-ball guy, even though he does have some on-ball stuff. But what really is a great on-ball defender in this NBA, which is another whole pod, so we could debate Heat Twitter about that, till the cows come home. But no, they're going to pay Caleb, so don't even think about moving him. And that's kind of what I'm hitting on when I say whether it's DeMar or a point guard, you don't think about moving anything of value to get one of those guys.
Right. I'm just glad George's not here. Otherwise, we would have had a whole,
He would have ruined. He would have ruined such good content. Let's not even talk about him.
What did I miss on the breakdown?
Oh my god,
George, you missed George. That's it.
that was one of the longest episodes we ever done.
You missed Greek Jaime Jaquez.
Oh no. Greek Jaime Jaquez. Who is Greek Jaime Jaquez?
George, he had like a little, you know what I'm saying? He had a whole he had a whole Josh Giddey. I mean, really shady face thing going on. Like he was, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, whatever. Move on, Joe. Move on, Joe.
But shout outs to George. But I mean, for me personally, I mean, what you just said, Kate. Like, you're not gonna give up a boatload of assets for whoever, whether it's a guy like DeMar, and also good point you mentioned, Kate. Like, while the point guard rotation, could you argue it could use improvement? Sure, but at the same time, it's not like it's something that's holding the squad back completely. Because at the end of the day, this is a team that we were another thing because. Like every now and then we get a couple new folks in for this convo, so we had to ask this question again. It was me, Nick, and Alex before you came in, Kay, and we were debating still on whether or not this is the deepest team in the Jimmy Butler era. And so far, we still got a unanimous answer where everyone agrees that this might just be that team. So. With that all being said,
I'm sorry, not to cut you off, but that's the point I forgot to make with the DeMar point. Like I said, who's the closer at 8, 9, even 10? Because to that point, as we all have said, this is the deepest team in Jimmy Butler's era. So on any given night, there's cliche, and then there's even, especially with the Miami Heat, who we find guys that were sweeping the floors 2 nights earlier to play big minutes. But it's like, really on any given night, it could be one of 10 different guys in a position. And that's nuts. But that's amazing because like it's so hard to game plan for that as the opposition. And Spo is maniacal enough to play 9 or 10 dudes in the playoffs like it's nothing. Like nobody will do that, but Spo is nuts enough to do that. And I think that could absolutely be a weapon.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, because like it's gonna be tough for so much teams because Joe Mazzulla is still kind of new to his position, and he's not really that good of a coach. He's kind of like
I'm sorry, who?
Joe Mazzulla, man.
I'm sorry, we were just talking about Coach Spoelstra, and you bring up Joe Mazzulla?
Yeah, like competition, man. Like,
I'm sorry, who? I'm sorry.
Like,
I'm sorry, Chester. Is this thing on?
Like, come on, like. Joe Mazzulla. I mean, what can y'all imagine what Spo gonna do to him again? He's just lucky that our squad just low-key I guess you could say kind of ran out of gas, after game 3. But then, they went and got pit stop, filled the tank up.
Listen, I'll die on this hill. Almost blowing the 3-0 lead was worth blowing them out in game 7 in the TD Garden.
Oh
that was awesome.
That was so poetic because that was on the 1-year anniversary of losing game 7 the year before that. So
and then the whole Jimmy thing, like going
now
next year will be your same
right.
Like whatever he said, same place, same time, but we're gonna win.
Poetic. Now listen, you gotta really monitor how this is said because Denver kicked our ass, for lack of better terms. Bleep me out, Joe. We knew nobody wanted to see Denver play basketball. So we said we'll give you 7 of this Boston thing, and then we'll see what we got versus Denver. Which, I guess we overextended ourselves because we didn't have a whole lot. But, I mean, that's what that is, man.
Right.
It's just the whole theatrics of it all. And I think, Nick, you said it perfectly, man. Theatrics, the Shakespearean nature of just the way it happened. Jimmy saying right back here, same spot, and we're gonna get it done. Like you said, man, you couldn't have said it no better. I think that blowing the 3 games was well worth doing what was done to them in their own building in game 7.
Yeah. Although that game 6 was painful. I just got home from a music festival, and I was with about 4 or 5 different people, and I'm watching the game at the festival while music is playing. I'm sitting there like looking down, and right as we get home is when the shot missed. I ran outside, and I was just screaming outside. I came back in, and I picked the phone back up, and I go, "Oh my god, they lost!" I didn't see the Derek White putback because I bolted outside because I was like, "Oh, he missed," and then I came back in. I was like, "Oh."
Yo, I did not even want to do much after that. Like
I sat on my shower floor, slightly intoxicated, just like in a music video, just like that. Hello, darkness, my old friend.
It'd be like that, man. It'd be like that. If you had like some real swoopy, you know what I'm saying, 2000s alt rock action going on, I mean, that's a movie.
Yo.
Yeah.
now, I gotta hear this though. What did y'all say on the point guard thing?
I mean,
I said,
yeah.
I said if you could get Dinwiddie or Brogdon for the right price, I'd be open to it. Because my only thing is, yeah, we have this point guard by committee and it's working. The problem is, and Kyle's playing honestly great. He's going to be 38 before this season's over. I just would like to have some depth just in case.
What's the right price?
If you can give up, I mean, for it, I know I'd have to look at their contracts too because I didn't even really look into it.
Oh no, you're taking on money with either of them.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to dish some. I don't even know who do we. We don't really have tradable contracts that.
And that's
Kyle.
my whole thing. And that's my
because
whole
like
thing.
Going into this year, we're like, yeah, we can make trades because we have Duncan and Kyle's tradable contracts. And now I'm like, I will never say a bad word about Duncan Robinson again. He is my baby, and I will protect him. And then
you know what? I'm gonna say this, and nobody said it. He's probably outplaying his contract right now. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, he's like, and since Tyler's been gone, I mean, you could make the argument for most improved player of the year. He won't get it.
Yeah.
Right, but it's such a weird thing because we look at last year and, you know, looking at last year as a whole, okay, so that's a year on his contract where he's really closer to like an $8 million guy, right? And then you look at him this year, it's like, okay, so we 7 to the good.
This is what we paid you for.
Right, but then we look at him this year and it's like, okay, now you're a $27 million guy, so you 12 to the good.
Yeah. Because
I mean, he's driving, he creating, he's shooting.
Right. He's doing so much more. And like we all knew I feel like it was the way Spo used him because we all know he could do this. Have you ever watched his Sioux Falls freaking highlights?
Right.
The guy looks like a demigod point guard.
And it also had to be some confidence things with him.
Oh yeah,
not
with Max.
Not even
Max
last
outshined
year.
him.
Right, but not even last year. I'm talking about even with the expansion. It's like I'm sure he had to find it within himself where he said, okay, I'm a crossover in McGowan face. I ain't worried about him taking it. Because I mean, he hit McGowan last night with a couple crosses where, I mean, if you looking at McGowan, he was looking at him like, what the hell? Like, he didn't know what to do because it's like, if you reach on dunk, he'll go past you now. But if you don't get no pressure on him, he'll
put one in your face.
Yeah, so, you know, he had McGowan in hell last night.
Yeah, I think at points last year, I was like so ready just to move on from Duncan because of his contract. And now, if I ever see Duncan Robinson in another jersey again, I might combust. So there we go. The highs and the lows.
And like you got to give him his props because, you know, like what people say is, you know, you either adapt or perish. And, you know,
he's worked for it hard. You can tell.
Because when it seemed like everyone finally had his number and, you know, they had him like figured out or whatever when it comes to him and his shooting. You know, he was able to evolve where he's more than just a specialist. And it goes to a point where what you mentioned, Kay, where, you know, he's now outplaying his contract because you only gave him that money simply because all you thought he could do was just shoot the three and nothing more and provide you that spacing with it. But now he's doing so much more where you can't even call him just a 3-point specialist because, he's
becoming a 3-level scorer.
Yeah, like, is that part of what he does? Sure, but there's more to it now. You know, like, you got to prepare more than just simply, you know, stand there and just, you know, guard him while he gets ready to shoot that three. You know, you got to be ready for whatever more it is he does, you know, whether if it is, you know, that playmaking and that chemistry that he has with a guy like Bam, or that other stuff, you know.
And his off-ball movement for me, like, if you ever just, like, sit there and watch a Heat game, because I've been doing it a lot with Jaime recently, where, like, if you're looking just, like, from, like, looking back at, like, highlights and stuff, and if you just, like, fixate on one player and their footwork and their movement, I think I would be able to guard Duncan for maybe 5 seconds before my lungs shriveled up because I just went from the corner to the other corner to the other corner to the top of the key, all before 5 seconds came off the shot. He just he's got to be a worse nightmare for someone to guard because he doesn't even have the ball and he's gassing you like he's a high usage player.
Well, there was I can't remember. It was a cut to somebody. Okay, Duncan started in the deep left corner. I think. Let's just say if these are the baskets, right?
I think I know a video. I think it was KCP guarding him.
Deep left corner. He passed it. He ran around the guy to run back to the corner, got the ball back, passed it again, ran behind the guy, faked like he was going to post up at the 3, cut to the basket and got a layup. And all that happened in like 4 seconds.
He's worked for it. I mean, you can. And then the fact that he came from D3 college, no offers, to walking on at Michigan, to going undrafted, to grinding in the G League. Because I felt like he was in our G League for a couple of years. I mean, his debut season, he was already like 26 years old at that point.
Yeah.
Because he had 4 years of college, and then he was undrafted rookie 2 years before the big breakout year when Jimmy came. So I mean, the kid's grinded, and he got rewarded with that $90 million contract, and now he's playing like he's about to get another one.
Exactly. And just shout outs to Duncan, man. Is there anything else y'all want to say before we close out this topic, or? All right. So we'll just go from there, man. But yeah, shout outs to Duncan, bro, because he's holding the house down, and hopefully even after, Tyler comes back, he can still be that starting shooting guard for us. We love you, Tyler, but
I think it's either they're gonna put Tyler in the starting role just because of let the egos roll and you don't want to damage anything, or they're gonna work him slowly. I think the logistical thing to do is for like Tyler's first week or 2 back, you put him on a 25 to 30 minute restriction 6-man role, let him get his feet wet. He hasn't played basketball in 5 weeks, and the team went on a 10 how many games did we win? Like 10, 11 games, something like that. Without 8, so close. You gotta get him back. I don't think there's a realm where Tyler isn't starting by the end of the season all healthy, but I think you have him come off the bench and let him get his toes wet. And I mean, if it is crazy, then there's a way Tyler say. I just don't see a way they keep Tyler on the bench, especially with how he was playing leading up to the injury.
That realm you keep Tyler on the bench is if you become a better team once he comes back with him playing off the bench, what they absolutely will. Because their problem now is when Jimmy Butler isn't on the floor or Bam Adebayo isn't hitting his midi, which doesn't happen from game to game anymore, but there are points in the game where he needs to get it back going. I think that those are the moments where you'll see a Tyler Hero just demolish second unit players. And once the Miami Heat are blowing people out consistently, which I think they will once Tyler comes back, I swear, because of the immense production off the bench. And you have to think of what they have on that bench already or what they will have on that bench when you're thinking about Jaime, when you're thinking about the fact that Caleb's probably going to be coming off of the bench as well, because I think Haywood and what he does defensively is something that you value in that starting lineup.
And the fact that Caleb needs the ball. Like, Caleb isn't a spot kind of Caleb.
He's not an off ball guy.
Caleb is Jimmy. And
he's not an off ball guy. He's
and Haywood will get his, but he is perfectly content just going from the corner to defense, and that's what Caleb's better. But Haywood is a little better defender, and then just his shot selection fits a lot better with Jimmy and Bam.
Right.
Caleb isn't really a 3-and-D guy. Caleb is a guy who can be 3-and-D.
Caleb's Jimmy.
Caleb is a guy who can go get his own. Haywood's a 3-and-D guy.
Yeah. But overall, man, I'm just because I want to dive into this topic again because I feel like we just talk about this for 20 or 30 minutes per episode. But eventually if the time is right, somewhere down the road, I could imagine where Spo notices the difference between how this team performs when you got a guy like Duncan in the lineup and when you have someone like Tyler in the lineup. And it's never going to be a knock on Tyler. It's just simply the fact that Duncan can just supplement what this team needs more of when he's in the starting lineup, while a guy like Tyler can just simply fulfill the needs that are met on the bench. And it's not like he's gonna have to be on the bench for the remainder of his career. Like nobody is asking him to be, Lou Williams and just stay there. We just need to win this championship for Jimmy. And then after Jimmy gets his ring, and after a few years from now, he announces his retirement to go open
Tyler can put up 30 a game in it.
Yep, yeah. Go and he goes to open a coffee shop in Miami or wherever. There, you can go do your thing, be back in the starting lineup and do whatever, and we won't care, man. But right now, like, just do what the team needs you to do, and let's go win this championship, bro. Like, nobody is gonna slander you for it or anything. You know what I'm saying? And you already got your bag too, so it's not like him coming off the bench is gonna affect his paper. Like, nah, all that money that they gave you in that contract last year, you're getting that regardless of what happens. So let's see. Anything else y'all want to hit on before we get into this final topic? All right. So with that being said, to close it out, let's talk about Heat versus Hornets part 2. The Hornets are coming to Miami after playing this last game in Charlotte. And I mean, I don't think the expectations are really that high for this team. Just go out there and get the win. Is LaMelo playing this game or?
I don't think LaMelo's gonna be playing for a minute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, LaMelo. I think LaMelo out for a while.
Oh, okay. So, with that all being said, I mean, this is the Heat we're talking about. So, like I mentioned earlier in the show, like, this is a team that will, beat anyone by 4 or 5 points, regardless of the talent that's on the floor. So, I mean, shoot, as long as the Heat get the win, I do not care, man. And I know people will be upset. I know people was pissed last night talking about, did we really win? Like, we're out here struggling to beat the Hornets, this and that. Who cares, bro? A win is a win. Y'all know this team. And y'all
Hornets have beaten the Celtics.
I just want to jump in real quick. Tyler moved from out to game time decision for tomorrow's game.
Interesting.
So he's questionable, not out anymore.
And LaMelo is weak, and LaMelo is week to week. Thought that he was going to miss a large chunk of time initially, but the reports as of 4 days ago has him week to week, and it isn't as long as they thought. So I don't expect him to play tomorrow. But with it being week to week and Trevor Lawrence getting out there 4 days after high ankle spraining, who knows in today's sports?
Right.
LaMelo's actually not on their injury report at all, so he might be playing. Nick Smith and Mark Williams are the only ones on their injury report.
Okay. I mean, we should get the win regardless.
It don't matter.
It's the Hornets, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, we have Hall of Fame Orlando Robinson.
Y'all know how that go though. Like I've told y'all, for me, when you think about teams like the Magic, the Hornets, and the Wizards, man, when it comes to the Miami Heat, and because they see each other so much, probably proximity, they play each other so tight and tough. Now there are times where, the Miami Heat do handle their business for the most part and control the game. But even in those situations, Monday night being an example, those teams always find a way to be a thorn in the Miami Heat side. I expect us to beat them. I actually expect us to blow them out in Miami, especially coming off of the struggle bus that was, Monday night. Because if you look at the Miami Heat's experiences like that this season, you look at Chicago, who they got out on and allowed to come back and beat them. And then, when they came back and played Chicago, they blew the doors off of them. And I think it happened one more time, but I can't remember exactly who it was with. But I said all that to say the Miami Heat are a team that has tended to take their medicine and recover well from it this season. So I feel like that scare last night, having to actually navigate a close win when you were out by double digits last night, is that medicine that they needed to come and handle business.
Right.
Ira just tweeted out that Bam, Tyler, and Haywood all out Wednesday versus Hornets.
I
Well, I mean, because Spo had said earlier today that Bam doesn't have a timetable to return.
Yeah, Bam's probably. I mean, I don't know the extent and all of what his hip injury actually is, but I mean, better safe than sorry. It ain't worth hurting Bam. Orlando can be serviceable and just try to pick up wins where you can pick up wins. Let Bam figure that out before you rush him back.
Mhm.
And that's twofold. If you think about it, they've seen what Orlando has done in the last several games, and they're like, okay, cool. But it's also like one of those things where Bam wanted to play or he had to play. I'm sure he could play, but they're giving Bam time for it to fully heal. Because as we remember, Bam's probably been dealing with this for like the last 2-3 weeks.
He's been dealing with this since game 3 or 4 of the season.
Right. I know he's been dealing with it for
but
a
like
while, but
aggressively for the
he had been playing. He had been playing through it, and then there were some games where he would try to go and couldn't. Some games where he would go and it would. So it's one of those things where they're probably just trying to let it fully heal or get back to close as 100% as it will before they put him back on the court because they have a guy like Orlando. And heck, these guys are still pros. They're still men. They're still humans with real emotions and real, what's the word? I don't want to use vindictiveness, but real motivation. So seeing Orlando do this and him not getting no tick might even inspire Thomas Bryant to use his noggin when he get on the floor next time.
So, yeah, I mean, for me personally, I expect to win. Let's blow them out. And what about you guys? We expecting a blowout, close game? What is it?
Hey, as long as they win, I don't care. And as long as Jaime cooks, I don't care. That's all I'm looking for in this game. I'm gonna watch Duncan jack up threes, and I'm gonna watch Jaime come in and just look like Jimmy Butler. And as long as they win, that'll be a cherry on top.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I'll say is that I think we are due for a blowout game soon. I mean, no pressure Miami, but we could just blow them out.
Duncan 30-point game inbound.
I'm down for it. Shoot, like by all means. And I think right now, like the city of Miami is kind of like mourning right now because I know Dolphins lost yesterday, so everyone
historic loss of that.
Listen, man, I know y'all not Dolphins fans, but it's still it's still like really tough right now. So let's be a little emotional for those watching, especially me.
I'm sorry, brother. I gotta be one of the happiest people on the pod right now because I'm looking at my next 2 weeks. I mean, I know this ain't that, but I'm looking at my next 2 weeks as a Cowboys fan. I'm like, I got the Bills. All right, it's winnable, it's losable, but then I got the Dolphins. Like that's a track meet, and then I'm watching Monday Night Football go down, and I'm like, you know what? I feel like I'm okay. I'm all right. And if Tyreek ain't on the field, that offense is ordinary. But this is a Heat thing. Continue, my brother.
All right, you know what? I'm gonna reach out to my Dolphins pod folks. We might have to get you on for that Dolphins Cowboys preview if you free. So let's see.
Oh man,
little Heat versus the world, Dolphins versus the world. Crossover. So you might have to make that happen.
Joel, what was not to bring up the pain? What was going? I didn't watch the game last night. What was going through your mind that last 3 minutes as the
I didn't listen, man. I didn't even think we was actually gonna fall because they gave us like 2 touchdowns. I'm like, all right, this game is over. I'm like saying, like, I'm having fun finally. Like, we're nearing the end of this, and then they score a touchdown and get the 2-point conversion. So I'm like, okay, wait, we gotta get one more stop and then we're done. So I'm not
Harar. I think that's how you pronounce the name. Harar, the punt returner for the Titans. He has to be the happiest dude on the planet because, like you said, Joe, when they tricked that off, bonus content from Heat versus the World. We're talking the Dolphins loss. Listen, when he tricked that off, and the Dolphins punch it in. I mean, you're like, this game is over. I'm cleaning my kitchen. I'm putting food away. I'm listening because I'm like, oh, this over. I'm gonna hear Scott Van Pelt in 2 minutes after they run the clock out. I'm like, all right. Well, they got 2.5 minutes. Mostert didn't get it on the first 3 and out. They give A-Chain a chance to come in and get these 13 yards I need for this parlay to hit. But the Dolphins gonna win this game. It's okay. It's okay. Listen, when he went down and got that first one and left 2 minutes and some change on it, I said, wait a minute. I said, this is the game. And then for the game to end and Tua not to even get a pass off, that hurts, bro. That hurts. I mean, You up 14 with
Yeah.
less than 6 left. It's not even gonna go 5 because 12 is a quarter, right? 12 is it 15 in it? Is it 12?
15.
Okay, you got less than a half of a half, and you up 2 scores in football. That don't happen. That don't happen.
Joel, if it makes you feel any better, I live in Ohio. I'm a Browns fan, and last year I was at the Jets-Browns game with a minute 38. We were up 13 points, and they lost that game. So if it makes you feel any better, I know your pain. We were up by 13 with a minute 38 left. The Jets had 0 timeouts, and we lost.
Because it's like
Joe Flacco went crazy, but hey, he's my boy now.
It was a prime time game, bro. Like everybody.
We're gonna take a break and come back at y'all 30 seconds with an NFL show. No, I'm joking. It's remnant. Do y'all remember last year? And I saw Just Saturday talking about this recently. I think he was on McAfee last week. And he was like, y'all remember when the Colts was up big? I want to say, was it on the Vikings last
It was the Vikings. It was, they were up by like 30-something.
It's those feelings, man. And that's the feeling that you had last night as a Dolphins fan. It had to feel like that. Because it's like you snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. Like you had it, but you just want to snatch the L out of there. And that's the worst kind, man. Welcome to my life as a Cowboys fan. Welcome to my life.
Anyways, y'all got anything more to say about the Heat before we close it out?
Oh, this isn't the Cleveland Browns and Dallas Cowboys. Jaime for Rookie of the Year. Wembanyama's a fraud. Go Heat.
I apologize, Joel. I mean, yeah, we're gonna blow Charlotte out by 20.
This last 15 minutes has been a fever.
Yeah, we're gonna handle that business in Charlotte. I mean, against Charlotte, see, I'm all discombobulated. I'm like Tua on the last play of the game.
Okay, you know what?
I mean,
this is yo, and I'm just saying right now, the Heat, if y'all are up 14 with less than 3 minutes left and y'all try something, I'm gonna lose it, man. Like, don't like,
bro. Oh man, I'm sorry. Okay, last thing before we close. Who the Dolphins got next week?
Let's see. It's the Jets. So you know how?
Okay. Get right game.
I don't know. 'Cause it's a division game, man. Like you never know.
I mean, I was trying to be encouraging because the boy did just throw for 300 yards.
Oh my gosh, man! But Nick, you got anything to say about the Heat?
Nah, man. He should win solidly, seriously, against Charlotte on Wednesday. Right? It's tomorrow, right? Wednesday.
Yeah, it's tomorrow.
I won't. Okay, even if I don't say 20, they should win convincingly by at least 10 or more points.
All right. And you agree, Nick?
Yeah, I agree. I coach basketball, so I won't be watching that game. So when I get in my car after basketball practice in the fourth quarter, they're normally like about 5 minutes left in the game. I'm gonna be
about 14.
I'm gonna be a little riled up if I don't have like at least an 8-point lead on my screen.
They're gonna be about 14 with 5 minutes left,
and then they're gonna win by 2.
Stop.
But they're gonna win.
Okay. All right.
He needs to turn the cameras off.
Okay, that's the truth, man. Anyways, y'all, is anything Heat related y'all want to say? Any final words before we wrap this up?
Jaime for Rookie of the Year.
Okay. So with that,
well, no, okay. To your point, Nick, before you go, I think we did call it out early though. Jaime wasn't getting any love as of just 3 weeks ago. If you looked at the rookie ladder, and I brought it up on the show,
he's getting love now.
Right. If you looked at it just 3 weeks ago, I mean, they had guys that aren't even getting ticked on the rookie ladder, and Jaime wasn't up there. But you know how quickly their opinions change when they actually watch Miami Heat ball.
Yeah. And like now all of a sudden you got him at like ranked 3rd, I guess, on the rookie ladder, whatever.
Yeah. Right. They doing the start, cut, or big.
Yeah, they set my boy up for failure. I was like, everyone's gonna obviously go cut Jaime when you see Wemby and Chet Put some guards and some other people. Don't put the 7-foot demigods on there with them.
Yeah,
No, you should.
Where's the guy that the?
I was about to say, you know who you do? Do Scoot, Cam Whitmore, and Hamed.
Yeah.
And then I'm cutting Cam Whitmore and Scoot.
Yeah.
Well, you at least bench Cam. He at least
yeah, I'll bench Cam. Yeah, Scoot. Yeah, I'm sending Scoot back to the Ignite.
Scoot.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the Ignite might have screwed him over. That's what some people are trying to say is because, like, you know, like playing in G League is so much different than like a college atmosphere. So.
I think it just depends because I mean, Jalen Green hasn't been. I mean, Jalen Green's been fine, and he was the Ignite. He was the first Ignite guy.
And I was also about to say it's a tough case to make because when you look at the Thompsons,
they were in the overtime league.
Overtime elite, yeah.
They weren't Ignite. They were the overtime league.
I mean, I was just thinking of those auxiliary leagues because the point was, you know, semi-pro versus college. That's all. I
Thompson. I mean,
but that's what
Pistons one's pretty good.
Detroit Thompson is good. Houston Thompson hasn't shown as much, but that's a case study. Like they're literally the same dudes with the same.
Yeah, I think it's all about the fit there, especially because Houston's got a lot of with Fred, with Van Fleet, with Green, with Brooks, with what's the center? Oh, what's the center's name?
Alperen,
yeah. Sanguine or Sanguine, yeah. With it, there's a lot more mouths over there.
Depending on where you're from,
there's a lot more mouths over there than you look at the 20 losses in a row Pistons.
Yeah. So,
as long as we don't lose to the Pistons this year, I
think we have.
No. They made a comeback. But they lost that game.
Yeah.
No, didn't we? Haven't we played them twice? We won.
Don't do this, Nick. Don't do this.
No, I won't do it.
Don't do this, Nick. We did not lose to the Pistons.
Wait.
Let's see. I don't think have we lost to a really bad team this year? I don't think we have. Have we?
Chicago.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Never mind.
I was thinking Chicago. That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah.
We didn't lose to the Pistons. You're right.
Yeah. But I don't know, man.
Look, Chicago is Chicago, but Chicago has talent. Their culture sucks. Like, they got it isn't the talent in Chicago, it's the culture. It has to be.
The two worst teams we've lost to this year is Chicago and probably the Nets. So I mean we're doing fine.
The Nets
exactly. That's why I went quotations there.
Yeah, the Nets aren't a bad team either.
Like besides Chicago, like I mean everyone else is playoff or playing teams. I mean, our losses are Pacers, which they're balling out.
Right.
The Knicks, the Bucks, the Celtics, the Cavs, the Timberwolves, and that's it. That's the only teams.
And I was just about to say, either of those teams. I mean, let's just be frank. We could blow them out, a la the Cavs, which we did. It just,
Yeah.
So overall, man, it's gonna be fun watching this team continue to play. Let's just try to win these next few games so we could say on the next pod this team went undefeated since our last episode. And aside from that, man, to all the Miami sports fans, stay strong. We gonna make it through this together. The Heat gonna do their best to pull us through this right now. And make sure to check out Heat versus the World on all platforms. Shout outs to all y'all who tuned in. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to follow us on all platforms as well. And then also make sure to check out all of our shows, Heat versus the World, Biscay Breakdown with K and Deem, along with our Dolphins show as well. We got so much heading y'all way. With that all being said, man, thank y'all for tuning in. Until next time, oh my gosh, man.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, man. It's been a lot, man. With that all being said, y'all, thank y'all for tuning in to today's episode, and we'll tune in and we'll see y'all next time. Take care, and we gonna
release those shackles. Release my people from the curse.
All right, y'all. Take care.
Y'all, those native bones We did not know.
All right,
What is happening?
2, 1, just hit the music.
Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time with a brand new episode of the Heat versus the World podcast.